Can the Cowboys get back in contention for the NFC East? We're exploring the state of the roster today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of the NBA.
Joe, happy post-Memorial Day hangover to you. I'm not hungover. I didn't have any libations, but
Kyle, I was asleep before 9 last night.
Holiday hangover regardless, right? Like,
yeah. Daughter and I watched Mufasa last night. We got an hour left to go. We're going to finish it tonight, but I'm liking
did they get to the brother song?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we got through that.
Everybody got like real mad about that song from what I saw.
Oh,
I guess.
I
didn't see it.
I'm not up to speed with that, but I'm enjoying the movie.
Good.
We watched Cinderella over the weekend, and that's a great. I've never really watched Cinderella. It's a great story, man. Cinderella's an A+ character.
Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, I don't know.
You planning on checking the new
I don't know. Based on your commentary, I don't know if that's gonna
dark.
Yeah, well, my daughter doesn't like anything dark. She wanted to move on from Mufasa after a few scary scenes. So yeah, I don't know if Lilo and Stitch is gonna be in the cards for us.
Well, OTAs. Happy OTA kickoff.
Yeah, there it is. 20 teams today, right? Start their OTAs.
20 teams start their OTAs today. Organized team activities, phase 3. Getting closer to some simulated football situations with their workouts, and one step closer to training camp, which means we're one step closer to when training camp's open. We have to be done all 32 teams. So we're doing another team today here in America's former team, the Dallas Cowboys.
All right. So they're under the microscope. We'll do Washington tomorrow. Yesterday we did the Giants. Thursday will be the Eagles. And what Kyle and I are doing is we are studying every team in the league, as we've done for multiple years now. And we look at every player on the roster. We categorize them in different buckets. The buckets are roster cornerstone, quality starter, rookie, sufficient starter, replacement level, quality depth, non-roster caliber, incomplete evaluation, and practice squad developmental player. Each bucket has a numeric value assigned to it. Each position is valued in terms of importance. And by the end of this project, we are going to have a really thorough understanding of where these rosters rank across the league by position, overall, all kinds of different stuff, which will lead to even more content. But today, the Cowboys are under the microscope.
And the Dak Prescott conversation will be separate, right? Because the quarterback thing is we compartmentalize, and that's its own conversation for the whole league and spectrum for quarterback. But I think this skill group is interesting. It has potential. I don't know where the floor is, and I don't know where the ceiling is. But I feel like it has enough different pieces that I look at it and say, I can see a pathway for at the very least being a much more successful skill group than last year. But obviously they made the trade for George Pickens. CeeDee Lamb's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. They completely revamped the running back room. I mean, they wiped the whole thing out and brought in Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders to go with two rookies in Jadon Blue and Phil Maffa, running behind what the Dallas Cowboys offensive line is. I could see that being a productive room in some way, shape, or form. Jake Ferguson is a nice high floor zone buster underneath tight end with good pass catching skill set and sufficient blocker. The rest of the group has some upside. Like Jalen Tolbert has upside. Jonathan Mingo has upside. It's a really interesting group for me.
I feel better about it right now than I did last year at this time, for sure. I think George Pickens is that piece that changes the outlook, in my opinion, where I think that's where you find your ceiling is. I don't know that we've seen Dak have this type of pair of receivers since like Gallup and Lamb, and like Gallup faded fast post injury, and I think Pickens has a lot more ceiling. Yeah, Cooks, like late stage Cooks, like come on, that's not moving the needle. And then Jalen Tolbert, kind of like the sneaky player here that's coming along, got a little bit more volume last year, and of course with the uncertainty that they had at quarterback and Cooper Rush and Trey Lance starting games. It's kind of cool to see him produce, and I think there's a decent floor at tight end at Jake Ferguson. I think this running back room is going to be a really big conversation piece this year because I like this offensive line. I really do. We'll talk about that in the next segment. But I don't think much of Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. I think those are replacement level guys in the NFL. And I'm intrigued by Jadon Blue, but he doesn't come without his warts. As a guy that wasn't a huge volume. This ball security, a concern, not necessarily built for a big workload. So this is going to be a very interesting dynamic as you've seen kind of the flavor of the league go towards, the big time running backs, Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, and what these guys have done for their teams. Christian McCaffrey when he's healthy. How is this going to go? Certainly, Schottenheimer run scheme, like it's all going to be important. What does it look like? Do these running backs limit the rushing production, or is it certainly a situation where, hey, you've got the passing game, you've got the blocking, and put anyone back there and we'll see if they can pound the rock? We're going to find out.
I want to follow up on the running back room, but I have a fun stat about the Dallas Cowboys tight end position.
All right.
Do you know who's older between Jake Ferguson and Luke Schoonmaker?
I'm guessing you're going to tell me it's Luke Schoonmaker, who wouldn't feel like the older player, but maybe is.
He's played 2 years in the NFL. He's going to be 27 in September.
Okay.
He's older than Jake Ferguson. I don't know who was the other player that with some of the stuff that I'm doing with A to Z Sports. I'm doing a lot of national and team wide specifics and getting into. Oh, it's Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin's played 6 years in the NFL, and he's like 1 year younger than Mike Evans.
Oh, he's old. Well, he was like he had to find his way. He was, a lot of these receivers come out early, right? And I don't think he did, right? Senior bowl guy,
Evans was drafted in 2014, and McLaurin was drafted in 2019, and they're like a year and a half apart in age.
Jeez. Oh, there's a random nugget of the day. We're always good for one of those, right?
Schoonmaker, older than Jake Ferguson, who was, to be fair, his rookie season was his age 23 year, so it's not like he was a young player, but Schoonmaker's going into year 3 of his rookie contract. He's going to be 27 in September. I like, you mentioned the upside of the running back room with how they kind of remade it. Do you feel like there's any hope for Javonte Williams kind of being what he was before the injury again? Because I'm still kind of clinging on to it a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, from the player you watch in North Carolina, the rookie season, boy, it was a fun back. Where I get nervous is like the yards after contact production really just hasn't been there. And we're a couple of years removed from it, and it didn't seem to look better. Like he just looks slower and less physical, and that's not Javonte Williams. He just doesn't look like the Javonte Williams that most people fell in love with in North Carolina and as a rookie.
Yeah.
Maybe, the further you get removed, he's not 100 years old. Like, yeah, I think there should be a glimmer of hope, but let's be realistic about what the last couple of years have been.
Yeah, I think there's a world in which he's a sufficient level starter, but I don't think you can look at what the product has been since he's been injured and say that he is a sufficient level starter.
Well, and this team last year, under like a worse scenario, I think, with the infrastructure, got 1,000 yards out of Rico Dowdle. And you and I have always had a little soft spot for Rico, but then I think the league told you what they thought of him when he went to Carolina for a nothing contract.
Right.
A crowded situation for no money after 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
So that gives me a lot of hope.
They thought the Cowboys front did a lot of the heavy lifting on that one.
Yeah, I know that was kind of like slanderous in some ways, but it was actually me trying to tell a good story about how maybe we shouldn't be that concerned about what's back here. That, I maybe there's some asterisks that go with the 1,000 yards that Rico had last year, the volume component, but I have a lot of confidence, particularly. I mean, we're going to get into the offensive line in a minute, but you want to talk about a middle three that can move bodies, boy. Booker, Smith, Beebe. Yeah, that's gonna help these backs, get some yards.
Yeah. So that's a great segue into the trench play, which we're going to look at next here. Locked on NFL Scouting. Make sure you guys stick with us.
The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action, and FanDuel makes it so easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Which guys are showing up, which teams are scoring. I'll tell you what, my cheat code this playoffs has been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the SGA, the NBA MVP with the Thunder. This guy scores every night. I always just smash the over, and we're doing well on that, and having a lot of fun with baseball as well. I've been building some parlays of which players I think are going to get hits, and that's been a lot of fun as well. So check it out. If you're new to FanDuel, there's never been a better time to sign up. You can head on over to FanDuel.com and place a $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. So make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, Cooper Beebe, Tyler Booker. Seems like there's a qualifier here. Your name's Tyler. You got a pretty good chance of starting for the Cowboys up front.
Yeah. Critical.
And then Terrence Steele, projected starting 5 for the Dallas Cowboys. Notable depth players would include rookie draft choice Ajani Cornelius, Rob Jones, free agent signing, started last year for the Miami Dolphins at left guard for all 17 games. Asim Richards, recent draft selection, and I think Hoffman and Bass both came in 22, if I remember correctly.
They've had to play and held their head above water too, so I like the makeup of this offensive line, particularly the middle three. I think there's an unbelievable ceiling in Smith, Beebe, and Booker. I think we've learned what Tyler Smith is. He is a stud. Beebe as a rookie, man, I thought he came on as the season moved along, got more and more comfortable. I'm excited about him in year 2. And then Booker is a mauler, right? This guy's a people mover, and I think it'll be interesting to see how that sorts itself out, because I think there's some movement limitations, but certainly exactly what he's going to be, and I think he's going to make you more physical up front. We'll see about Tyler Guyton year 2, what type of step he can take. I thought Terrence Steele stabilized after a couple of down years a little bit last season. So I think this is how I have it scored. I have Guyton as an incomplete evaluation, Tyler Smith as a quality starter, Beebe as a sufficient starter with an arrow moving up, Booker's a rookie, and then I have a sufficient starter in Steele.
Okay, so I'm a little higher on Guyton, a little higher on Smith, a little lower on Steele. Where I put Smith in the cornerstone.
Oh,
bucket.
I'm not going to fight you on it. I'm not going to fight you.
Joe was the Tyler Smith champion, and here I am.
It's probably me just fighting bias, where it's all right, I don't want to be too hard, but
lean into it. He's been awesome. He's been an outstanding
cornerstone. He is cornerstone. He is.
Tyler Guyton, I was willing to put in the sufficient level starter bucket at this stage, and Terrence Steele. I think you're projecting what the play has been with, in addition, what the trajectory has been, and I have him ideally be, for me, I think he'd ideally be a quality depth player as compared to a starter. But stylistically, I think you can place him next to Tyler Booker to help ensure we're getting good movement in the run game, and there's things that you can do to help give a guy a little bit of extra support and pass protection on the edge. And I would expect Dallas to do some of those things with Terrence Steele and kind of lean into the upside of Guyton and what he's capable of being as a player in space. And Guyton's going to have to put the big boy pants on this year.
Yeah.
So that they can give the support that I think Steele probably needs in pass protection.
I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't acknowledge Zach Martin, and this would be the first year since 2013 that Zach Martin won't be holding down the right guard spot. What a career.
Do we play taps or?
I don't know what you do, but
salute. Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
First ballot Hall of Famer?
Yeah. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-time first team All-Pro.
The only reason I ask is because Marshall Yanda was a 8-time Pro Bowler and a 7-time All-Pro, including in 2019 as his age 35 season, his second team All-Pro, and did not get as a first ballot.
Really? That's a weird precedent.
Yes.
Wow. I haven't really done that thought inventory on Yanda.
So how many first team All-Pros does Zach Martin have?
7.
7? Okay.
1,
so that's
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and he was twice second team.
Okay, so 9-time All-Pro player in total.
In 11 years, yeah.
Okay, so that's the big divide. Is Yanda is a 7-time All-Pro, but was only first team All-Pro, I see 3 times.
Well,
but
maybe that moves the needle. I mean, these guys are both getting in at some point, right? Like,
yeah, if you're interior offensive lineman first ballot, and he was on the Hall of Fame's all 2010s team, he's going to get in, but didn't get in as a first ballot Hall of Fame guy.
So we're debating the inevitable, but they're going to get in. It's first team or not, right?
Right.
So we like this offensive line. We like the depth. It's a good group. Defensive line.
This edge group gets me going a little bit.
Yeah, it's like it's exciting. There's a lot of really skilled players. Obviously, Micah Parsons, like one of the premier pass rushers in the league, getting the deal done with. Oh, we're talking about edge. So Dante Fowler, I think, is a good signing. Like low key, just very good player for a long time. Maybe didn't like quite meet the. It was a number 3 pick in the draft or something like that. But
a productive player though.
He's been a very productive player. Sam Williams back off injury. You get a first round caliber player in Donovan Izaraku. If you didn't like the Tyler Booker pick, just pretend like they picked Izaraku at 12 and Booker.
And got Booker in the 40s.
Yeah, sure. Whatever you got to do. And then Sam Williams, coming off of injury, we showed a lot earlier in his career. And then, Peyton Turner, a guy that didn't really work out for the Saints. We'll see. Maybe we'll change the scenery, gets it going. There's a lot of ceiling here. Not to mention Marshawn Nealon, who second round pick last year. So there's, right. I mean, again, no, it feels weird with there not being DeMarcus Lawrence as part of this group for the first time in forever. I still feel like they're in pretty good shape.
A little bit of bad blood there too. DeMarcus and Micah chirping at each other on Twitter. What I really like about the edge room beyond the juice, right? You look at Parsons, Fowler, Izaraku, Sam Williams. These guys, we got juice, right? Like we got a lot of twitch. We got a lot of speed to power potential. But then also the power player elements that Marshawn Nealon and Peyton Turner, I think, have some similarities in their skill sets. And Turner obviously didn't materialize the way that New Orleans was betting that he would when they made him a marquee draft selection. And Nealon, who knows, a smaller school player who had an injury last year. But if your sixth edge is Peyton Turner,
yeah,
good. You got a group that could do some damage if Peyton Turner's your sixth edge, because you could look at some other edges and he'd at least be edge 4. So
yeah,
star player in Micah Parsons, twitch when you get the long and late downs. You got guys that could play up over tight ends and handle double teams and knock the crap out of the point of attack. I love the DNA of that. And then, oh, by the way, when you get in pass rush situations, you got Osa Digizua back on just an awesome value contract.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, he signed for $20 million per.
Yeah, it's a good deal.
In the year 2025.
Yeah.
And he's been, I think he has triple-digit pressures the last 2 seasons, and there's only like a handful of interior defensive linemen that have that. Solomon Thomas, really like the ad there. It's the other rush.
Kind of fits.
Player. Yeah. And then if you're worried about Mozzie Smith being a true nose, well, they got a true nose in Jay Toya in this year's draft as just a bowling ball type of player, and Mozzie's got all the upside in the world. So I like the makeup of both of the trenches for Dallas, and I'm really excited about the defensive front. I think it's got a lot of what it needs.
Yeah, I will echo your thoughts on this front. I like it in general, and I think it's going to be really important based on some of the questions with injuries and players in certain spots in the back seven, which we will break down here on the other side of it. Yeah, so folks, be sure to stick with us.
$103 pressures the last 2 seasons for Oso Odighizuwa.
Healthy. That's healthy.
On 815 pass rush reps. It's almost a 13% pressure rate for an interior guy.
It's outstanding.
It's a healthy number.
That's outstanding.
The third down pressure rate is 16.5%.
Dials it up, man.
Let's go.
Matt Eberflus taking over this defense, right? And I'm one last thought on the front. I know you mentioned Mazi Smith. I'm still hopeful here. I'm still hopeful. He's got a lot of time now, playing experience. Year 3 is a common breakout year for a lot of players. And I think when you take a player like Mazi Smith and you mess with the kind of the body composition as much as they have, I think that's going to force you to adapt to new playing styles. And hopefully everything can stabilize and get Mazi to be the player, at least I think he can be, coming out of Michigan this year in year 3. So Matt Eberflus takes over this defense, and this linebacker room is really interesting. They bring in Kenneth Murray, who I think is a replacement level player. But I'm not sleeping on like Jack Sanborn, who is now part of this mix, who has time, right? With
the scheme. Yep.
Right. So like, for any panic about Kenneth Murray, which I think there should be if he's going to play 1,000 snaps, I wouldn't sleep on Jack Sanborn being the stabilizing player here for this linebacker core. And then Damone Clark, I think he's looked good at times. I don't think he's a complete lost cause. I think you have enough competition there that you should get the best of those guys. The disappointing thing is DeMarvion Overshown and what he was starting to come on.
Yeah, man.
The light bulb's flipping for this guy, and then he gets hurt, which I guess the benefit is that Lufau got some run, but it felt like Overshown was knocking on the door, just like we saw with like Deion Henley with the Chargers. It felt like Overshown was also breaking out, and then he gets hurt.
Yeah, really, really tough break. Now, we've been complimentary the depth, the offensive line, and the defensive line. They might have better depth at linebacker than either of those two spots. As I graded this out, now I don't know that they have the ceiling player, but Kenneth Murray played a lot of football, right?
Yep.
I think there's a certain floor of pursuit that you should be able to expect, and just see ball, chase ball, make tackles type of player. Damone Clark flashed. Jack Sanborn, experience in the system. Shamar James is a 5th-round pick out of Florida. I really liked him. He's one of the younger players in this draft. He was one of, I think, 10 players in this year's draft class that was 20 years old on draft day. A lot of upside there. Overshown obviously being kind of the X factor for ceiling of the room. But you and I have gone into the last couple of years at off-ball linebacker for Dallas and kind of looked at it, and we kind of had the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that way about this year's group the way that I have in past year's group. And not just because Overshown had kind of the breakout flashes, because we don't know what he's going to look like or when that's going to bounce back. So I like the style of players that they have. They have kind of a variety of players where Clark's a more physical player. Sanborn, I think, is not the most athletic and dynamic, and that's why he got undervalued in the draft. Murray has good athleticism. James has good athleticism. Like they got variety here. Yeah. So I like this group a lot at linebacker for them. I just don't know that it's super sexy with like top end names. But when you look elsewhere on the defense and you see quality starters in the secondary and up front, and the cornerstone in Parsons, I don't necessarily need star players at off-ball linebacker.
I think Matt Eberflus has been one of the best linebacker development coaches in the league, dating back to his time in Dallas, where I thought there was good growth. And at Indy, it was terrific. All of those players wind up being good. And then I think with the Bears, with what he had with Edmonds and TJ Edwards, it's good. Like, I think it's always been good. And so I think he'll get the most out of that group for sure.
Yep. Secondary.
Well, I think the easy part of the conversation is Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson. It's a good pair of safeties. They complement each other well. They've been They've been a good pair for a while. I think you know exactly what you're getting there. And I think you can also look at Matt Eberflus and safeties, and it's been a good story to tell there as well. It's just about like corner, like what's Diggs' availability? I love Savone Revel. What's his deal with the ACL? He fell to the third round after being much more talented than that. Deron Bland looks like he's back because he played towards the end of the last season. Kyer Elam brought in. I'm actually pretty hopeful for Kyer Elam. I don't think he's as bad of a player as a lot of Bills fans will tell you that he is. And, what he showed in that AFC Championship game last year, I think there's a lot more good, but people are focusing on the bad. He's certainly a very talented player. We'll see what can happen here. Kalen Carson, Andrew Booth, like we'll see here. Obviously, you love Diggs to be healthy and ready to go. I just don't know if that's the vibe that we're getting for where his availability is right now. And then in the nickel, it's like Israel Mukawamu, who I think is appealing, but there's some matchup problems that he's going to have as well based on, certain slots that he can play. So there's some things to sort out here at corner.
I think they gave themselves, similar to the edge group, you've given yourself a lot of bites at the apple for upside play to let kind of competition sort itself out on who's going to make the jump, right? Yeah. And in a perfect world, you see Deron Bland playing inside. If Diggs is healthy and either Elam or Revel or Kalen Carson makes the leap and you feel good about it, Bland can play in the nickel some too. So I think even Marquise Bell and Wanya Thomas as the backup safeties, I think those are quality depth options where you're going to go big nickel, you want to go coverage nickel on 3rd and 15. Like, you should have enough pieces here to put together a group that can execute at what I think will be a fairly high level. So I'm kind of buying on Dallas as a whole. I don't know how high the ceiling's going to be, and obviously there's a head coach change, so there's some tonality changes with the football team, and it's a really tough division, and there are players that have injury questions that understandably, if they're not back or 100% or they're not ready to go, it's going to change the feel and DNA of the team. But for a team that we looked at last year when we did this exercise, and I think you and I both looked at it, and we kind of came away with the same conclusion that there were some spots on the team last year that's like, what are we doing here, right? Yeah. Like we had major concerns with Dallas last year. For being a team that, and they made the George Pickens trade. They've had another draft class since then. But they didn't go out and spend like gangbusters and spend $400 million in free agency. I look at where they're at now versus where we had them last year, and I think they've done a nice job of realigning and having last year was a transitional year, and unfortunately Dak Prescott got hurt and all that. But I'm impressed with the 12-month difference in what Dallas looks and feels like now versus what they looked and felt like last year.
Realigning feels like the right word. And I love the point that you made where it wasn't, I mean, of course, notwithstanding the George Pickens trade, but you're still talking about not a huge deal. I mean, a guy on a rookie deal, you didn't give up crazy capital to get him. I think they've done a good job of like not being splashy, but finding answers and giving themselves opportunities to be right at positions. Now it does have to work out, right? We do need to see the corners stabilize. We need to make sure the linebackers are good to go. This interior defensive line feels good, but we need growth, health on the edge. Like Dak Prescott returning from injury. There's some guys on the O-line that need to take a step. Like there's all of that, but it doesn't feel as much of a uphill climb as maybe you looked at this team last year and felt, there were questions. We'll see about running back. There's questions. But I don't think we picked
questions are in the right spot though.
Sure. And it's obviously all comes back to Dak Prescott playing high-level football that we know he's capable of under Brian Schottenheimer. Like, that's the most important thing. And I think you have proof of concept, which should give you some optimism that it can happen.
So, any final thoughts on Dallas?
I think this division's going to be competitive.
Glad I'm not playing in it. I mean, there's the North was like this too. We get done doing the NFC North, and it's you had this take at the beginning of the summer. Kind of the power dynamics for the conferences feels like it shifted a little bit. I think you're right. Where
NFC's good.
NFC's got a lot of good football teams. I mean, we're not even halfway through. We have Washington and Philly left to do.
Right.
And if you told me that we've covered 4 playoff teams already, I believe you.
Yeah. Yeah, in
just in the NFC.
Yeah, dude. We got the Bucks, Rams, Seattle, San Francisco. I mean, it's gonna be really competitive.
Yeah. So good call out by you at the start of this process. And we'll continue our spotlighting of the NFC East, looking at the Washington Commanders tomorrow on the show. And then the Eagles on Thursday to finish the NFC East. So you have that to look forward to the rest of the week, Kyle Crabbs. Joe Marino, we appreciate you guys as always for checking out Locked On NFL Scouting. Make it a great rest of your day. We are out of here.